It's all about humanity. 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 It's all about humanity.
Good evening, model citizens. Welcome to Humanity Junction. My name is Heath, and this is Modeling Monday. I hope everyone is having a fantastic holiday Monday if you are in the U.S. And if not in the U.S., I hope you're just having a regular fantastic Monday. To the left, you guys can see the Model Railroad live streams going by. If you have a live stream and or a regular show and you'd like to be added to the list and you're not already on there, please send myself or John at Schuylkill River Valley or any of the Sidetrack Sunday team your information, and we'll get you added to the list the next time we do an update. Let's take a quick look and see who is joining us so far on this Monday. We've got Almar checking in, Anthony Dodge, the Model Train Outsider, Colin Wykes in the house. We've got Dad Cooks joining us, Digger Evans, Model Railways here as well. Dragon Lover 68 is here, Dwight Curley, Joe Rader from Black Rock Central Railroad. Lynn McCurdy is in the house. We've got Roy Elpham here. Rayron VR is joining us as well. And I see a bunch of people stacking up in the basement, which is really awesome. Anthony Dodge made a comment. It was actually the first comment in this stream. He said, "The heart of modeling, kitbashing." And I just thought that was really interesting. So I am definitely looking forward to talking about that. Let's start bringing up some people. We can start saying hello to them while this other stuff is playing out. We've got Steve Childers, Adam Cruz, Don Winn, Robert from Flying Crow, Lynn from Twin Peaks Railroad, and Shane's Trains, who is maybe gonna pop up in a second. We'll see if it's I can see him on my end. He's having a little trouble joining the rest of the group, but we'll get him up here in a second. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Doing great.
Good.
On this dreary, rainy weather in Denver.
Yeah, it's been interesting here as well. Before we say hello to everybody, there are two things I just would like to sort of show. The first one, I'm going to make myself big for this one, and we're going to go to, let's see, which camera. We're going to go to this camera here. In honor of Memorial Day, and I know this isn't exactly the Memorial Day car, but I've got a Micro Trains. It's the POW MIA, Vietnam War car, and it's one of the very few that I have in my military collection, but I did want to bring that up here and put that on the trolley track for today's show. The other thing is I did actually enter the Walthers NMRBO contest. As people know, on Modeling Monday, I've been working on this. So they asked for some progress photos, so I just took a couple of my thumbnails from different Modeling Mondays, and here's just a progress photo before I threw all the models on. And then I took and we got some I don't know, I took a picture without any trains on it. Then they wanted one from the left, one from the right, and one from overhead. And then I threw the only it's like it's advancing on its own. I could find one boxcar in all of my collection of trains. I could find one boxcar. So Lynn McCurdy has offered to send me a couple that I'll be able to use on this diorama going forward. But for now, it's that Pennsylvania boxcar is what I had. But as people know, I've got a couple GG1s. So I grabbed this is a Model Power Amtrak Streamline passenger car with the Amtrak 902 GG1. And yeah, okay, I know, Amtrak, Pennsylvania, they're not quite in the same, time period, but
it's fine.
it's my railroad, right? Rule number one.
Right.
So, and I thought there was somebody, and I couldn't remember who it was, but I thought somebody was asking me whether I had any pictures of my Amtrak GG1, so I thought it'd be good to just get these shots. So one thing I noticed after I finished this is as I was putting the boxcar on, you can sort of see from this direction, the boxcar is actually taller than this overhang on the front building. So the boxcar won't actually pass underneath. And I get, I guess I should have known. It's a Walthers kit. I probably should have checked it beforehand. I don't know exactly what I did wrong, but
shim up the building.
That's I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to shim it up a little bit. Unfortunately, the platform lines up pretty perfectly. It's just the overhang. And now looking at this picture, actually, it does look like that bottom rung of the roof rafter is tipped down. Is that actually? Let's see. Overhead. Overhead. There we go. Let's get rid of this. Let's make myself a little bigger. Is that? I can't really tell. Trying to figure out if that roof rafter is actually sloped down or not. So maybe I put it together wrong. Which, it's probably pretty likely. I'd say that's probably...
No, that's typical Walthers instructions, too.
Yeah, I should have known, though, right? I mean, I should have known, check everything, right? I mean, that's the...
Do you still have the template for the outline of the building? You could put that under it.
What I do have is this piece here. This is what I used
Yes.
on the thing to actually separate it out. So I do have this that I could put it on.
Yes.
But then the platform doesn't line up with the boxcar, right? So.
But you can't see that.
But I know it.
You
But
may
I
know.
know it's what's happening. I can
Well, then
feel it. So
take the awning off and raise it up.
There you go.
That's what I'm gonna have to do. Is
I mean,
have to
I would
do
have
anything.
said, don't bother. But now that you've broadcast to the world that
Yeah.
it's off, now you got to fix it.
Now everyone's gonna be looking for my mistakes. So before we get into talking about kit bashing, let's just check in and Container Man, no. Before we get to talking about kit bashing, let's just go through everybody else, say hello, and see what other people are working on. Jane, are you on your phone? You're coming and going again. Sometimes you work really well, and sometimes you come and go. Anyway, Adam Cruz, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Still working on all of my decals. If I can get my phone. I actually took notes this time so I could actually read from them. Between my California Zephyr 11 car set, the Denver Zephyr Athearn 8 blue box set, and then my Amtrak set, I've just been decaling away for quite a while. And I didn't mean to stop my video, but if we can get it to go to... Come on. It's being difficult.
Martin Searsma is saying that his Walthers fire engines didn't fit into his Walthers firehouse. I think that's hilarious.
Anyway, it's not letting me switch camera, but this is one that I just almost finished today. It's a Bachmann Great Dome that was originally ATSF, and I'm making it the Amtrak Mountain View, since I already have the Amtrak Ocean View car done.
Nice.
But I need to modify all of these little nameplates because they're too small. So I've been taping off, filling with Tamiya putty, and then painting them. So you can actually, once I gloss coat over that, you won't never see that it looks different. So that's what I'll be working on tonight.
Awesome.
Finishing up some of these.
Nice.
Sounds
Nice,
really
Don.
awesome. So we're going to skip Don. We'll come back to Don, but next is Flying Crow, and there is somebody in the chat that already had a question for Flying Crow. Let's see. Dwight Curley says, I hope Flying Chair has a better chair today.
Oh, I hope so too.
So should we start off by showing the new chair you've got, or did you just tape the old one together?
No, it's just another folding chair, so it's not anything fancy.
So basically, what you're saying is we should all keep an eye on you tonight because we could have another event.
If you see me drop down out of the picture, you'll know.
So what are you working on tonight?
So what I was kit bashing this wood chip hopper. As you can see, I got all the details done on the end. This laptop camera is not very high resolution, so and I'll try to block out the sunlight. So I've got all my grab irons on, and I had to completely redo the end using evergreen angles, and I found I got the brake platform on, and the brake wheel, and the brake wheel housing, and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm painting it, believe it or not.
So a little airbrushing tonight.
Yes, so I have been kit bashing, and now I'm airbrushing.
So Shay's N Scale says we need to put together a GoFundMe for a new chair for you.
That's right, and I want a leather one this time. You know, leather.
Maybe we'll get you a wood chair with a pillow. How's that sound? So it's not going all the way up to leather from a folding metal chair. I think might just be a shock to the system.
Just put a bunch of mattresses around his chair.
Yes, that's what I need to do. Or those tumble mats, you know, like you have in gym, where
set it up like around a mechanical bull at Billy Bob's.
Yes, there you go.
So there are probably some people here that are like, what in the world are these guys talking about? If you don't know, go look on my channel. I did I did pull the outtake out and make it its own separate video so you can find it. But what is it called? Flying Crow's First Flight or something like that?
Something like that.
But Robert had a chair issue, a mechanical issue with his chair. And lucky for all of us, it was right as he was about to ask a question, so everybody was focused on him. It was as if he couldn't have timed it better. So Robert is, of course, a good sport and let us post that outtake. And luckily, he's back in one piece, and hopefully that airbrush will keep things together tonight.
I was hoping to get a lot of sympathy, but I didn't see much.
Yeah.
Not from this crew.
No.
Yeah.
I think you might have to join a different group if you want some
Yeah.
sympathy. So, Lynn, I saw you say it's 100 degrees out there, but in spite of all that, what are you working on these days?
Well, you've heard this new term, shelf queens. I think Ray was talking about it last night.
Yeah.
And I've got this set of cars that have been on the, can you see all
Ooh, wow.
They've been up there for a while. So this is what I'm working on.
Natural weather.
And, you know, you can't have cars without a caboose. I'm not even going to dust this one. This has got so much dust on it. I'll be choking in here.
You should just put clear coat over the top, and you'd be good there.
I've done that. I've done that a few times. But anyways, they were just sitting there on a siding, and this really young guy was mentioning about he didn't have any box cards for his module.
No HO box cars.
I can send you about 100, but I think these three will be more fitting. So that's what I'm working on. I'm probably not going to stay on very long. I want to catch the conversation this evening, but we're also packing to hit the road early tomorrow morning for Montana. So I've done most of the packing, but I got to rearrange the car to suit the missus' wants and needs. So anyway, that's about it.
AKA meaning you have to clear all your junk off the passenger seat.
I already did that this morning. It's what's in the trunk.
Gotcha. Just in case some people missed the conversation last night with Ray, just real briefly, how are we defining shelf queens? What does that mean? Because I think some people might not have been there.
I'm going to give an example of one. Now, he had some really high dollar, expensive, and it's basically something you don't run. It's just to look at, whether it's a mechanical issue, whether it's dollar issue, things like that. I got one here. I'm going to grab real quick. I'll be out of sight for a second. Be right back. These have more dust on them. A few of you may know what this is. This was an experimental engine by the Rio Grande and the Southern Pacific. It used a hydraulic transmission and drive. Yes, it is German design. They thought it would be great for going over the Rocky Mountains. Total failure. The engineers were scared to death that the thing was going to blow up on them. And there's only one that was just dust falling off. One still in existence. You
don't want to lose any of that dust. Be careful handling that.
It's desert dust. It's dry. It's a dry thing. So the shelf queens are things that are special in one way or another. I'm not going to move the camera around. There's a whole shelf of them back there that are really nice, that decoders fried, something happened internally, and they just sit on the shelf. And no, Heath is not a shelf queen. He's active. He's down there on the level doing his thing.
Adam's saying he's got some blue box P42s that he custom painted that are sitting on his shelf because he got some replacement Genesis ones.
I do have one that's in the box. I'd have to get a chair to get to it. That I didn't pay a lot for it, but I got it from the guy that worked or retired from Athearn, and it's a misprint. Some of the details on it, when they're making the cars, the printing on them, they go one color, they go back, then they do another color, they do lettering, they do numbering. Yep. It's over and over and over, not just one shot. and they realized about halfway through on one side that it was a misprint, kind of like a double stamp coin, which supposedly makes the value go way up. And by keeping it in the box and all like that, that someday when I'm too old to talk and go to the bathroom by myself and things like that, I can cash it in and hire a housekeeper or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's a story for another time.
Tim from CP368 Production says, all of my stuff are shelf queens right now. An upgrade from box queens. Everything is on the shelves at the foot of my bed still. And I can relate to that because I don't have a layout. So most of my stuff is either on shelves or in boxes. And that's
all of the accidents and things that you heard about what happened with Tina Marie videotaping our show last weekend.
With the audio, yeah, we did.
She came out, did all of this, interviews, yours truly, the club president, Benny with all the ships, and none of the audio recorded, just the visual.
But she did go back and re-record that with you, correct?
She did with me. She still hasn't reached the other two, and then she's been busy with her radio network. She owns a radio station, or a radio digital network is what she calls it.
Yeah.
And she said it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks before she can get this cranked out. So I'll be back from Montana, and then I can share it with all of you.
Awesome, awesome. So, Mr. Childers.
Hey.
What are you working on these days? I know you crossed 100 tips of the day.
I did, and I recorded. I am still editing 2 more. And, last Friday we talked about my work area, new monitor, moving the bigger computer out here, and my pointer, mouse, and all that kind of technical stuff, which has inspired me. I've used JMRI Decoder Pro for 10 months or so since I first started building the railroad. And I watched Robert, Flying Crow, one way or the other over here, and his series on Decoder Pro, Panel Pro operations. And so today I hammered out I still have 1 location on my railroad yet to do. All right. And so tonight I'm going to start the tedious process. Robert knows what I'm talking about, of entering all the cars into the database and what location they are in.
Yeah.
So,
but you only have to do it once.
That's right. Well,
as long as you don't buy any new cars, you only have to do it once.
Yeah, but
hopefully.
Hopefully, because if you start moving, if you forget to do moves or you hand move something or whatever, then all of a sudden you're looking for cars that aren't where they're supposed to be. So, but considering I was in the distribution industry for most of my career, I'm used to doing inventories and relocating stuff.
Sounds good. And we have one gentleman sneaking in right before we get to the main person of the hour. So I like that you put David at the end of your name, just so that I didn't screw it up on accident. But
I was trying to do something, but it didn't. There wasn't enough space for it.
What were you trying to do?
Well, I was going to put Paul in there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But what I wanted to write it was too long. It wouldn't fit.
Oh, funny. I didn't realize there was a limit. But so what are you working on today?
My build for Jack Jack's competition number 2.
Nice. Is it what type of building is it?
A small commercial industrial building.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we'll check in with everybody a little bit later, but I want to get to the man of the hour.
I'm going to bow out.
You're going to bow out? Okay, Lynn.
Yeah, that'll make it an even screen and all like that. And I'm going to start sneezing from all that dust that's in here right now.
Yeah.
So, I'll be listening. I'm not going away. I'm just going to log out of here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you a little later, Lynn. So the gentleman that I'd like to introduce next isn't around YouTube a lot, so I thought it'd be great to get him on here and have a conversation. I met him while recording the clinics for the National NMRA convention that's coming up on July 6th. He will be one of the presenters, and his presentation is going to be on kitbashing. But before we get to that, Don, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of how you got into model railroading and how long you've been doing it, and just a little bit about who you are.
All right. Well, thanks for that. So I've, like most guys my age, I hit a Lionel when I was a kid and all that, but really I haven't been a lifelong modeler like a lot of guys I talk to. Got into other things and work and all that stuff. But when my kids were little, I got on the Brio trains and tried to generate an interest in trains, but none of them seemed interested until the very last kid. He was interested, so we went to train shows and we started building a layout, and then a bigger layout, and then a bigger layout. And, did a lot of good things, but he got older and he moved on and decided that was for kids, I guess. But by that time, I was addicted to the modeling, so that's what I've been doing. So I've been back into the hobby for about a little over 10 years, I guess is what it is. But I've been doing a lot of modeling lately. So I retired 5 years ago. And shortly after that, we built a house, moved to San Antonio, and I've got my own custom layout room there, which is pretty nice. Can't complain.
A small little room, from what I understand, right?
A small room. It's only 20% larger than my first house.
Yeah.
So just to put it in perspective, yeah, it's pretty nice. So I've been working on that. I'm also the director of the NMRA Division 6, which encompasses 48 counties centered basically on San Antonio. And so it keeps me a little bit busy as well. So that's it. I'm a retired mechanical engineer, and I spend almost every day out in the layout room.
One thing that we were talking about that I thought was kind of interesting before we get into kitbashing is that you don't consider yourself a modeler. You're more of a builder or something. This was kind of an interesting conversation in that, like, defining what model railroading is, I think, is an interesting conversation. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that on the next Modeling Monday, but in relationship to you sort of volunteered that you don't consider yourself a modeler.
Well, it depends on how you define it, but yeah, like I briefly touched on, I'm not a lifelong modeler, and so I was a kid, when I was 8 or 10, I would go down to the YMCA on Saturday mornings, and they had swimming, and you could play pool, and you could build models and that kind of thing. So I built models. Maybe as many as half a dozen. And I got the whole tube of glue all over the windshield of this car, and
yeah.
I thought I was doing pretty well till I looked to the kid to the left and my kid to the right. They had beautiful models built, and I finally decided modeling wasn't for me, and I gave up and moved on to other things. But so now I'm back in the hobby, and what I find interesting about this hobby is there's so many different aspects of it. There's electronics and gizmos, and there's track lane, and there's benchwork building, and there's planning and designing, and programming locos, and there's a lot of parts to it that are not really the kind of modeling that you guys hunkered over your benchwork, your work tables there are doing. So yeah, I'm finding more and more. I'm interested in being a good modeler, and I'm aspiring to be a better modeler, and I work on things quite a bit, but I'm not to that level of the people I see here in the group today. So I'm not a natural modeler. Don't take any modeling tips from me. So,
but I think what Steve 87 PSAP says, if you make modelers, you're a modeler, and I kind of agree with that. I consider myself a beginner modeler, yet I've kind of started this Modeling Monday stream, and I get on here and I kind of model in front of people, and we talk about things. We talk about how we can improve them, how we can make them better, but I don't think skill level necessarily doesn't make you a modeler, but I understand. I do understand what you're saying as well.
Yeah, and part of the modeling I really like is following the prototype and doing the history, doing the research, figuring out what your model should look like, trying to figure out how I'm going to build them, and that's where kitbashing comes in. Is how am I going to build a model using the parts and the kits I have available? How can I make a model of this particular building that doesn't really have a model kit built for it? So I really enjoy that part of it. I was just at a guy's layout yesterday, and not to say anything about model power, but he had a stack of model power kits, and I'm thinking, if I'm going to build a model, I want to start out with a chance of it, being a good model, and one I'm proud of, and at the end of the day, we all end up saying, well, that's good enough. At some point, you say, two things: that's good enough, and it's my railroad, so that's where I stop.
Yep, exactly. Rule number one: it's my railroad. So yeah, exactly. So you've mentioned kitbashing, which is what I've titled this, and that is what you ended up doing a 45-minute presentation on kitbashing. How did that kind of become your thing? Like kitbashing, was it by choice? Is it something you went after, or did it just sort of happen along the way?
Well, it's something, like I say, I modeled the. We didn't talk about what I modeled. I modeled the Burlington, the CB&Q in 1966, and I'm modeling.
You just woke up a couple guys.
This is getting scary because my wife and I met in San Antonio. She was born and raised there. I modeled the Burlington in 1966 or thereabouts. All right, growing up.
And we have a Burlington model on the screen there from Adam too. So yeah, there's a lot of Burlington modelers out there. That's good. Yeah. So I'm from Aurora, Illinois. So I like to say that both the Burlington and myself were born in Aurora, Illinois. So there you go.
There you go.
So yeah, you're right on the triple track there.
The racetrack, you betcha. Watching the dinkies all day.
So for those that don't know about Aurora was, or at least back in the day, as we say, it was quite a manufacturing town, and there was a lot going on. So Caterpillar has just moved out of town. But industries like that, there were a lot of heavy equipment industries. There were a lot of metalworking industries, and then of course they had all the other things, the coal and oil and other things that were delivered. So there were perhaps 100 industries that would be switched by the railroad every day in Aurora back in the day. So my original vision is my railroad would go from Aurora all the way into Chicago, and I'd model Union Station, and fortunately somebody talked me down off the ledge on that. Said, Don, you might want to scale back a little bit, and thank God I did. So right now the main level of my layout is basically just Aurora, and so it's switching all those industries. And there's several branch lines within town, and I've got one branch line that goes out of town.
Do you have some? Did you pull any photos out? Do you have some photos to share? Do you want to do that now of your layout?
Yeah, we can do that. Let me see how we got to remember. Let's see.
How share your HL, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So let me
Steve
shoot
87
here.
PSAP says, I have some BNSF and a BN switcher. They feed my railroad and actually use the tracks. So here we go. Look at that.
So this is a view. I did a virtual layout tour a few months ago, so I'm pulling from that. So this is what I did. We found a builder and a lot that we liked. This was a couple of years ago, and the good news, bad news. It's a very nice neighborhood, and they only build like 4-bedroom houses, which is fine for the two of us. So I took something called game room, a media room, bedroom 4, bathroom 4. There's a wet bar area. I took all those. I added a little bit of square footage on. I rearranged everything until I ended up with this train room, which is just over 1,000 square feet. And I took the half bath and I moved that over. I claimed that with my train room, and I took the 1-car garage and made that into my shop. And that has a I got some good advice along the way. I put in a 4.5-foot wide door into my shop so I can carry really big things in there. I've got an outside entrance for my visitors, like you guys, so that all you creepy guys don't have to be paraded through the living room when my wife's in her jammies. So that's her favorite part of the layout, is that exterior door for you guys. I did a few things while I was planning. I put in some ceiling outlets so I could string some lights of my own choosing. I got floor outlets. I got all the outlets are switched, so I can when I leave the room, I have these lighted switches. So when I leave, I can shut everything down. So any soldering iron or glue gun I've got plugged in is off. The locomotive that's stalled out on the switch has been depowered, and it's a real good way to keep control over those things.
Anthony Dodge says, my house would fit in his train room, and as people know, my apartment would probably fit into your garage, and my train area would probably fit into your half bath. So
well, I can't complain, So this is my retirement home, and yep,
that's awesome.
I won't,
Yep.
It's very nice. Yeah, I can't believe my wife let me get away with this, but her thing was it had to be a new house, and part of her thing on that is so she can pick out all the flooring and curtains and whatever, Plus, she doesn't she watches all those home improvement shows where you find out that the rot and everything else has gotten taken over the house. But her other thing was we had to be within 15 minutes of our granddaughter, so she was happy once I had those checked off, and I got my train room. But yeah, my first house in California was 820 square feet, and this is just over 1,000 square feet.
And you have some design and engineering background that kind of helped guide these decisions?
Yeah, I've been the engineer, mechanical engineer. Worked for 39 years, mostly for Peterbilt. See, if I move out of the way, you can see the big Peterbilt behind me here. And so that's one of the truck models I worked on. And so that's where the funding came, shall we say, for this house. And so that worked out pretty well. I'll tell you a little side story since we've got plenty of time. If we focus on this on my PowerPoint here with the view of this view, I was standing in the room right about the same day I took this picture, and they'd finished the drywall, they just painted it, and I was standing there, I was just kind of breathing in train room, oh, it's gonna be so awesome, and I was standing here right at this view, and all of a sudden I feel a presence beside me, and it's not one of the workers, it's apparently one of the neighbors. And he turns to me and says, I know what's going on here, and I'm going to put a stop to it. This cannot happen in this neighborhood. And so So I said, well, I'm going to play along. So I said, wow, what's going on here? He says, you can't see what this guy's doing? Look at these floor outlets. You know what they're for? I said, no, what are they for? And they said, this guy's going to set up some kind of telemarketing distribution thing. He's going to have like 20 or 25 people in this room. There's going to be cars parked up and down this street. We are not zoned for that. I'm not going to allow it. I'm going to go to the HOA today, and I'm going to put a stop to this right now. I said, wow. I said, when I look at this room, I don't think that's what this guy's going to do. He says, you don't? What do you think he's going to do? I said, I bet he's going to have a big model railroad. He goes, what? I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've heard of. I said, hi, I'm Don. This is my model railroad. I never saw the guy again.
That's awesome. Too funny.
It is a pretty weird room for my neighborhood, or for anybody's neighborhood, I guess.
Well, if you were in Colorado, they'd be calling it a grow house. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. But the nice thing is that we decided we're none of us are getting any younger, so it's. I thought I was going to end up with a basement, but we don't have basements in San Antonio like many parts of the country. This is we're in limestone quarry country. So I had when they started my house, there was absolutely no dirt on the property. It was solid limestone down as far as you can imagine. So there's no basement, but that's fine because when I'm being pushed around in my wheelchair, I can still get to my layout room pretty easily. So it works out. My wife's vision was to have a outbuilding. In case of a fire or something. I said, yeah, that's a good idea because if the house burns down, I don't want the layout to burn. And I
don't think that's what she meant. I don't think that
she didn't mean, but it's better having it attached. I can walk out there with my first cup of coffee and just wander around and see what I'm going to work on today. If you're going to put in staging and it's going to be underneath the layout, you want to get it in early. So yeah, what you see in this part of the room, the top level, the main level, where the interesting things are going to happen, structures and scenery go, is not here yet. But I've got 10 tracks of 2 levels of 10-track staging, and I've got enough staging for 1,600 cars or 47 trains, depending on how you break it out. So,
and how many of those 47 trains do you are you already collecting?
I already have most of them.
Yeah. We've been joking lately in some circles that we're collectors, not hoarders.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you we all have many more trains than we need, but yeah, I can fill up most of the staging right now. So
that's awesome.
Now it's just getting to work on the. Let's see. I can show you another view here from this. Let me see what I want to show you.
There at Oregon, you'll need to put a big concrete statue on a hillside of the chief of the Blackhawks at Loudon State Park.
Well, it's too far away from where the depot. I decided to model the depot as I'll talk a little bit about this slide here. This is one of my branch lines that's still within town, and it's actually the area of town where I lived in. So it's that's pretty well done. We've already actually started operating on that. If we go back to my Oregon slide, this is my staging, so there's really no operations there. But I decided I could sneak in enough room to put in the depot, and that way. What I've seen on other layouts that I like is as your train goes through staging, you lose track of it, and there's nothing to see. So I can sneak in kind of a bonus scene here on Oregon, and I've got another bonus scene here. I got the town of Sandwich, Illinois, is represented down here.
So Don, just so you know, one of our one of the members of the community drives a Peterbilt for his job, so he was just noticing some of the Peterbilts. I don't know if you want to shift to one side and just point out that picture again behind you, and that's
sure. That's a nice photo which has the 1939 Peterbilt, which is when Peterbilt was founded, and this is the model we released in 1986, called the Model 379. And so that's a project back before I became a manager, and all I did was go to meetings. When I actually designed parts, I designed a lot of the parts, the chassis parts on this, and so let's see, where's the there we go. There's the it's hard to see. There's the heavy duty trucking from 1991. It's called What Truckers Really Want. And that's actually me as the model.
Nice.
I took the magazine editor on a drive around Texas. We were trying out our new cab and sleeper arrangement, and he's not only the writer, he's also the / photographer. So we pulled over at a lake, and he took some pictures with the sun going down, and so I know you don't believe that's me, but that is me there. So that's my claim to fame.
So the Peterbilt that Containerman 68 probably drives around in today, you probably at some point was in some meeting where some decision was made that is impacting his day-to-day life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The funniest thing about that project was the model prior to that was called the 359, and it was very, very popular. But it was kind of cramped, and it was out of date, and it was like 20 or 30 years old by the time we decided to replace it. Yeah, and all the dealers came, and all the big customers came and told us, we want this. I want some more room here. I want more room between the seats. I want some of this. I want some of that. I want some of that. But don't change a freaking thing, or we'll come back and kill you.
Yeah.
So change it, but yeah. Go ahead.
Says he'll be getting his new 389 Peterbilt in September. It'll have the new digital dash.
Yeah, that's what replaced this one here after another 30 years. But it's it went from the 359 to the 379. I can tell that story here. And so initially the next model was the 369, and there was a lot of snickers amongst the engineers on 369. Really, do they really want to call it that? And we said, I don't know. But I got plenty of preliminary drawings that said 369. And all of a sudden one day they said, it's not the 369, it's the 379. We said, why is that? He said, well, somebody in management found out that 69 is a naughty word.
That's too funny.
He says, really? They just found this out? Oh, well.
Thomas from Split Rock is trying to get us back on track a little bit here. He's asking, what era is the layout you're modeling?
1966. So it's the diesel era. I'm old, but I'm still too young to remember steam engines anywhere in town. I was, the dieselization was kind of complete by the time I was born in 1954. So I don't bother modeling steam except in fact, I picked the year 66. One reason is we still had 2 locomotives preserved on the railroad that were used for excursions. So I wanted to model those.
I was just going to say they were still running the excursions from Chicago to Galesburg until I think it was 66 or 69, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, there's a sad story about how the new boss came in and got rid of all that stuff. If it's not making me any money, poof, out it goes.
Right. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about kit bashing today, and I think we'll get to that now, and then maybe come back to your layout. So what is kit bashing? How did you get into it, and why do you like doing it?
Well, I model the prototype, and I make that one of the you know, the priorities in. Let me go bigger here with these with this if you want to show that screen.
Yeah.
So this is a display. Well, I'll come back to that. But if you're going to model a prototype, then you have some buildings that you know, you want to model, and you want to make them look like they're supposed to look. And Walthers doesn't make a kit that does what you want to do, so you have to do something else, and you have to be a little creative and figure out how I'm going to take pieces from this kit. Usually I just keep it with the same kit, but sometimes I'm combining several kits, and you try to see if you can get that to do what you want it to do. And so I've been doing that. I've been I split my time. I've always got about 20 or so things that I can work on any given day. And so sometimes I'm laying track, sometimes I'm building structures. And so I kind of trade off to keeps things interesting. But I've been building a lot of structures and trying to get it, you know, really makes the layout take some shape when you can see how it's coming along. But about a year ago, we were having a local Zoom meeting, and they were looking for material, somebody to do a presentation on what they've been working on. And I said, well, I've been doing a lot of kit bashing, so I slapped together a few slides and did something, and then I presented that again a few months later, and then I decided to expand it into a full-blown clinic. Not that I'm the world expert on kit bashing, but you know, I looked at it and said, you know, there's a lot of things I didn't know, or really, I think my clinic talks a lot about, you know, go ahead, go outside the box. You can color outside the lines. It's okay. Make it your own. Walthers doesn't, once you buy it and pay the guy the money, Walthers doesn't own that kit anymore, and you do what you want with it. And the slide we're looking at now is actually from David Pop ran a series a year ago where he gave everybody a one kit, and he said make something other than what it's supposed to be, and use your creativity. So they came up with all these different things, and really, I think that's the key to kit bashing is get some inspiration and remake it into something that you want it to be, something that you need for your layout.
So I'm looking at it now and I'm picking it out, but that one front wall is in every kit, but it's like it's in a different position, and it makes it look like a completely different building. I didn't get that until you actually said that.
Yeah, and it's amazing what you can do. Yeah, it's in the gas station. It's, you know, the fire station. Holy cow! How many small towns have you driven through where that's the fire station? You know, Walthers missed the boat on that, but they should relabel it as that. See, somebody's asking which kit was this? Was that the question? Can't
well,
quite.
Steve 87 PSAP saying, how many state line buildings did you buy?
Oh, how many did I buy?
Yeah.
I don't know how many David bought. He bought one for everybody on the staff. If you watch the video series, he talks to each one of the staff members and asks, you know, how they got their ideas and how they built it. And he went to the managing editor. His name escapes me now. The big boss. And he went into his office and said, how's your kit coming along? And he says, here it is. It's still in the cellophane. And he throws it back across the room.
Yep.
He says, I don't have time for this.
Yeah, I mean, Walthers, with the instructions that Walthers provides, I feel a little bit like every time I put together one of their kits, it's somewhat of a kit bash. But do you use a lot of Walthers kits, or do you kind of just use anybody's kits?
I use anybody's. Let me get back to the question we had a minute ago. I did finally, it was sometime later, but I did finally build something with this kit. I bought two kits and made it into my my Lawndale enameling factory, which was an eclectic series of peaked roofs and dome. The domed roof got me going on it, but there's flat roofs and peaked roofs and domed roofs, and it's kind of a nondescript building that no one's really going to remember. So I have, even though I'm modeling the prototype, I take some freelance license and say, well, I need something that has a lot of dock doors, and I want that domed roof, and so yeah, I can make something out of that. The other thing,
87th PSAP, I didn't understand. So Steve 87 PSAP says he was the one that built the fire station for David Pop. I didn't get that. He kept saying it was his fire station, and I didn't understand what he was saying. So yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yep. Yeah, David did open it up to viewers to build something and show us what you got. Kind of like the Walthers contest going on now. It wasn't really a contest he did, but he invited people to share. So yeah, there's a lot of creative things you can do here. One thing I looked at on this structure here though is so when I go operating layouts. You come to a section of a layout that the guy has, and he has all these industries lined up, and they're smaller than a 40-foot boxcar. Yet they get a 40-foot boxcar of stuff every day delivered to them, and that kind of makes me crazy. So when I build a structure, if I have the room, I try to not exactly fill up the space, but it needs to have plausible story on why it's getting one or two boxcars of stuff, because you need a lot of room for your manufacturing. I was in manufacturing for years, so you need a lot of space, and I like to let it fill up that space. But I did always with two kits, and I don't need two of the walls, so I just filled those in with the can't remember if I filled them in or just propped them up, but kit bashing can be real economical. That's one of the things I talk about briefly in my clinic is, you can save money if you spread out your kits and get more out of them than Walthers. Walthers has you build a rectangle, and you typically don't need all those walls, and you can use the pieces to make your building larger.
One of the other things that I like that you talked about, and that we sort of joked about after we recorded your presentation, is I've modeled the Walthers Merchants Row, and you go on everybody's layout and you see that everyone's got Walthers Merchants Row on their layout. And I like that you talked about how, using kit bashing and even just changing the name of a building to make it something different than what Walthers sends you out of the box, to make your layout a little different.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, Tony Custer says, don't read the label on the box because Walthers is always putting the wrong label on them, which is just his tongue-in-cheek line. But it's look at what's in there. Don't look at the name, because the name will throw you off every time.
Robert Crow, who's on here, Robert Johnson, Flying Crow, who's on here, is working on a cement factory, but that's not a cement factory, right? That's some other Walthers kit.
Yeah, well, some of it's a cement factory. Part of it are the silos from the grain elevator, though.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Yeah, but that's how the kit's made, though. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. You didn't kit bash it. It's just that Walthers uses parts from other kits.
I have to kit bash every locomotive and half the cars I have to make them right. So it's hard to get time to kit bash the buildings.
Well, that's what you get for modeling CP. I mean, KCS. Sorry.
None of that now.
Always giving you a hard time. But wait, so what's one of your favorite kit bashes, Don?
My favorite? Wow, I don't know if I have a favorite. They all, they all take shape, and I get them built, and then I move on. I don't know. I guess. Well, here, let me flip forward to I guess this maybe this one here. I had a yard office. I have two known photos of it, and the guys that worked there. The building's gone, of course. This is the Eola yard office. My friend from Downers Grove might recognize Eola. That's where it's funny if you look at the history of railroads, is when they get started, the city fathers are begging the railroad to come to town. They'll offer them money and bribes and whatever to get the railroad to come to their town because they don't want to be the town without a railroad. And they put a depot and a yard down in the center of town and all that stuff. And then 20, 30, 50 years later, they go like, why do we have this stinking railroad in the middle of our downtown? Whose idea was that? And so that happened in Aurora. And so everything was right downtown. They were forced to do two things. They had to do a grade separation and put a viaduct through town to get it off the streets, and then they had to take the yard and move it several miles east of town to a tiny little village called Eola. And BNSF still has a fairly large yard there, but the yard office, I've got a couple pictures of it, and I had enough information to draw an outline of what the building looked like, and I put it on my layout there to make sure it fit. I've got the yard built, but the thing that really slowed me down was I went to get the material. And it's fairly common. I mean, you've seen buildings like this, right? It's called it Butler building kind of construction with metal panels. And I couldn't find anybody that made those.
Like metal pole barn.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very common, but nobody makes that material. And I found it in this Walther's Guard Shack kit. And fortunately, the windows in the kit are pretty close to the same dimensions as my windows, which is good because there's not a lot of blank material with the kit. I bought 3 of the kits. Let's see, and I put one of the things that I talk about in my clinic is before you start cutting and gluing and find out it's not going to work, just put the parts in your copy machine and build it that way. And so I figured out I was going to need 3 kits to build this. I printed them on different colors of paper so I could keep track of where I was. I needed 13 different wall sections, and I got that figured out. I need some more roofing. You always need more roofing when you're kit bashing because you're not building that rectangle that Walther's wants. And oftentimes I'm expanding, or in this case, building 3 kits. But it's one of the nice things about this material is it has a lot of seams, and that's where you can hide how it goes together. So I had 5 sections of wall just to make up this little wall section here, and was able to get it glued together and put together, and it's pretty darn close to the actual structure as far as I can tell from 2 photographs. And having the different roofing material actually works out because the story you're telling is that this was the original section of the yard office, and they expanded out to here, and they expanded this thing that joins on to the RPO that's out there for a locker room, and then they added on this porch here has asphalt shingles, and so it has a lot of variety, it has a lot of character, and that's one of the things I find interesting in building these is you can kind of tell a story just by the way you build it.
Do you buy the kits that you're buying with the intention that you know what you're going to kit build them for? Or are you we'll say a collector of kits that you just have a closet full and you go through your closet when you're ready to make something?
Well, it's both. Oh, I've got to click over onto here. Where's my mouse? Yeah. Find that slide. One of the things that I do a lot now is when I go shopping for a kit, if I have a specific idea, I know what this prototype is supposed to be. I'll go shopping. I'll just Google H.O. Walters structures, and not that I use exclusively Walters, but you know they are the big animal in the market. So I go there first, and I just scroll through, and I keep looking at. I'm looking at architectural style. I'm looking at the size, the shape, the aspect ratios, and the material, whether it's brick or metal, wood, and try to find something that I think that I can make something out of. So that's what I do most of the time. But on the other hand, I was at the Houston train show a year ago, and I came across a table that was basically an estate sale. So these guys were helping out the widow. They cleaned out this guy's closet after he died, and they have like 2 truckloads full of kits that he never built, and they put them out there for a good price. And I bought dozens of them, thinking that this is going to be material, like the Walters big paper mill. I said, well, I need a lot of big factories, so I can use that. And I bought the slaughterhouse, and I bought a number of buildings that I thought I might need without really knowing what I was going to do, because you gotta buy them when you're there at the show, and I can't come back later. So I do both.
Are there? We've talked about Walters. Are there other manufacturers that are go-to for various pieces and parts for you?
And Tony Custer talks about that. Don't ignore the German manufacturers. They have a lot of nice kits. The challenge with those is they have very, German-looking architectural styles. With all the swoop-de-doos and different things, and very very few of them look like a building that you might see in Aurora, Illinois, in the '60s. So whereas the Walters are much closer and look more normal. So I do that. I built DPM. Yeah, I built DPMs. And I got a couple buildings. I got a couple examples in here we could look through and see. But yeah, there. And I talk about that in my clinic. Is there's that's a good source, because it's you're kind of I think that's my slide before this. Yeah, that's the next slide on my screen here.
I read your mind.
There you go.
Yeah. As tiny as it is, you read my mind. But yeah, Walters used to make a DPM knockoff too, and I've actually used quite a few of these. You can still get them out there on eBay and at train shows. And yeah, I built this structure here out of DPM, and I like that they have templates, so you can use those and figure out what you're going to do before you cut any plastic.
Yeah, I like that. And I've seen other people talk about that too. I think it's actually Jason Jensen Trains will photograph the entire kit, or not photograph, sorry, photocopy the entire kit. And then if he wants to make a second kit of it, he'll just go and buy the styrene or the balsa wood and, cut a second kit of it as well. And then he's usually kitbashing things as well. So then he can modify them as well once he's got all the photocopies.
Yeah, I'm in MRA, and I'm working on my master model railroader. I talked to, and like we talked about before, I'm not the world's greatest modeler, so I asked our AP coordinator, how in the heck am I going to scratch build 4 cars? I mean, from scratch.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, Don, it's easy." Of course, all these. This guy's a beautiful modeler. I mean, he's great. Oh, it's easy. It's easy for you, Dwayne.
I feel like the same thing about the AP. People want me to do the AP, and I'm like, scratch building. It's like I can barely put together a Walther's kit. Like, how am I going to scratch build something?
But he says, it's perfectly fine. Go find a kit, and open it up. Measure every single part in there. Go out and buy the wood. If you're building a wood structure, go out and buy the wood. Buy it yourself. Cut it yourself. And follow all the directions that the manufacturer gave in this kit, and that's fine. That is a totally 100% scratch built model. He says that is not cheating. I said, yeah, it's still a lot of work though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I finally got my cars built. I haven't had them judged yet, but I got my scratch built cars, so I think I'm good. The slide I pulled up here is I think this is key for people that if there's anybody on the call here that it's a little timid about scratch building. What I walk through 6 different ways to kind of define your project, and I think this is really important for people starting kit bashing. Is oh my gosh, how do you get started, and how do you know what to do, and so you've got to you can make a stand-in structure. This depot moves all over my layout. It's been the Oregon Depot and the Wedren Depot and it's Sheridan Depot. It moves around, but building a mock-up, building a template, those are real. And the tape up. I use a lot of tape ups. I see where I'm going. So I just tape at the tape up stage. I've already committed to opening up the box and breaking the seal. But then I'll tape the walls together and I'll just look at it. In all of these, I'll typically set them up with a stand-in or a mock-up or tape up, and I'll put them there, and I'll be walking around the layout room for maybe a week or more, and go like, yeah, that looks right. You know what it needs? It needs to be a little longer, or maybe I need to cut off the second floor, or maybe I'll get or I'll decide no, that's going to be good. I like how that looks. And then once I've got that set, then I'll move on and actually start, cutting and gluing.
Nice.
But that's the tough step is deciding what you're going to do. And in a way, it's the tough step, but I think it's the most fun.
Steve 87 PSAP says it needs more cowbell. Yeah, I will say one of the things that the NMRBO contest from Walther's, they want it to be a 2-foot by 4-foot diorama. I don't have the space for that. But what I ended up doing is I built the models first, and then I took out a 1-foot by 2-foot shelf and then went to figure out where stuff went. And what was hard for me was actually deciding what not to use almost. Because I then had this structure that I had already built, and I don't have anywhere to put it. So that became a thing for me, and I guess I wonder for myself, like with kit bashing, it's just as much about what you decide not to use as it is what you decide to use.
Well, yeah, I think with kit bashing, the first thing is how big does this thing need to be? How big can it be? What shape can it be? Your tracks are seldom parallel where you want to put that building. They're converging into a switch, or they're crossing back and forth, and so you got some odd angles, and so maybe it needs to be longer but shallower. Maybe you don't have the space for the kit as Walther's designed it. Maybe it doesn't look right. My example of actually it's here on the screen. My power plant I needed for this for the Austin Western facility. I looked at Walther's and others make about a half dozen different things they call coal-fired power plants, and none of them look like this building. This building looks, as I show, it looks just like that canning factory, the one that you're building on your diorama. It's the canning company, and so that's what I used to build mine. But and then I cut off a section of it and got it to where it, looked more like the structure I wanted to model.
So do you ever end up building something and then just like completely taking it apart to build something else, or do you, once you build it, you try and like figure out a way to use it as it is? You know what I'm saying? Like some people just have a lot of kits and then they'll say, oh, well, this one doesn't really fit on my layout, and they'll start like taking it apart to repurpose it.
Now, when I moved, and well, I had a layout in my prior house, and I had a couple of them. And now when I moved, I sold like every structure I had to this one guy for $100, and he was all excited about it, and I got rid of almost everything, because then by the time I moved, it took me a couple of years to actually move, but which was good, because in that time I was able to do a third planet drawing of the entire layout. I could figure out what I'm doing. I'm committed to modeling the Burlington with these industries, and so when I start looking at my structures, I've got the Walther's Champion Packing Company meat packing plant, and I've got I have a lot of interstate fuel and oil, and okay, I admit I used to build kits the way Walther's wanted me to build them, so I've reformed since then. But so yeah, I had all these kits, a lot of them built, and I just got rid of them all. And so I'm starting over from scratch. So I don't rebuild them, but yeah, I do repurpose a lot of things. If I could, let me go to this page. In my clinic, I talk about this. So Tony Custer tells you, to pardon me for that. I didn't turn that off. So Tony Custer says, don't read the box title, and so I read that, but then I fall into the trap. It's so easy to do. So a guy came to our breakfast meeting and said, it's Don. Here's something I haven't been able to sell at the train show. Nobody, Don, wants an NMRA headquarters building model. He says, Don, I can't even give it away. And he held it out, put it in my hand, and pulled his hand away. And so then I had it, and I didn't know what to do with it. So it just sat there in my closet full of kits, and I had nothing to do. So then later, I was trying to model this area here, and I said, what am I going to do? I decided to make it a kids area at the bottom of my helix. I want some kids to be able to play with trains down here, because if they're playing down here at a 2-foot level, which is perfect for them, they'll be less likely to be messing up my railroad up where I care about. So I rebuilt the thing. So this is what it's supposed to look like. And, this is where I went with it. Yeah, I'm going to have to throw this phone out the window, I guess. Yeah. Pardon me. I was going to unplug that phone before we started. So kind of getting to your question, I had a kit that I had like no purpose. Heath, my wife keeps calling. Let me get this and carry on until I get back.
Okay, all good. Oh, and of course Steve Childers left too. So Adam or Robert, do you guys have any kit bashing projects of yours that particularly enjoyed working on?
If I can get my computer to unmute. Some odd reason nothing's working. No, but I have like 3 passenger stations. I still need to figure out if I'm going to actually build them the way they're supposed to be built. And I still want to try to, the plan was either the Michigan Central Station downtown Detroit or the new canopy over at Union Station here in Denver, because basically I'm doing Detroit, Chicago, Denver for my California Zephyr and my Denver Zephyr stuff. So I'll probably have to scratch build or custom build all that.
I guess what you're doing with the cars, I feel like is probably just as much kit bashing as anything else, like with the buildings as well, right? I mean, we talk about kit bashing in regards to structures, but I mean, modifying an Athearn Blue Box kit is probably just as much kit bashing.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how much you actually go into modifying it. Like my observation dome, observation car, I wish I had a dome on top like the actual Denver Zephyr and California Zephyr and all that did have, but they don't make it. No one makes it. So at some point I'll probably have to make one. Even the new Walthers mainline ones, they don't have the dome on it, and this should have a dome on top. So
yep.
It'll have to be kit bashed.
Well, Broadway Limited makes that dome car, don't they?
Yeah, but I don't feel like spending almost $300 for it.
Okay.
I tried bidding on the 11 car Broadway Limited set a couple months ago, and it got up to almost $2,000. I was like, nope, not going to do that.
Wow.
Wow.
Yep. I like Lowell Smith. He doesn't kit bash, but he does like custom runs of cars where he does like custom painted runs, and they're really incredible too, but they're really expensive. And I keep looking at them and I keep saying I can't afford to buy them. But so would that's an interesting question. Would painting something in a different way also be considered kit bashing, or is that just painting?
I call it. I mentioned that briefly in my my clinic. Yeah, pull up a page on that. I call it kit disguising. I just made that up. I don't know if there's a good word for it, but I think that's key. The last thing I want to do is to build a kit and then paint it. Well, don't paint it, and then put on the Centennial Mills decal on it, so everybody knows that I built the Walthers Centennial Mills kit, because there's a lot of them out there. And I was putting this together for my my clinic, and then I read in Model Railroader one of their featured layout tours in June was a guy, and he had the Centennial Mills thing unpainted right out of the box, Centennial Mills decal on it and the whole bit. So, which is fine. It's your railroad. But problem I have is just mentally, when I walk into your layout room and I see those Centennial Mills and there's Champion Packing, and then my mind wanders onto a game of let me see how many Walthers kits I can find.
Yeah.
And you're trying to portray some railroad, the Johnson and Eastern Railroad or something, and the illusion gets lost immediately if it looks like it's just a Walthers sales display. So yeah, I think if you paint it, if you use different decals, I think that can spruce it up right away and keep it from looking as much like that. The other thing you can do, and I talk about use your own signage, and then paint a different color. Walthers doesn't think you're going to paint it, but also sometimes these highly detailed kits like Centennial Mills, leave off the fire escape and the dust collectors, and now it looks like a generic factory warehouse, and it's not screaming Centennial Mills when you do that, and so that's one of my goals in kit is I don't want anything to look like the Walthers kit. It's going to take you a long time to figure out which Walthers kit I used if I've done it right.
Oh, there you go. There's a challenge for Don Winn's layout tour. Is spot the Walthers. How many Walthers kits can you name when taking a tour of Don Winn's layout? I think that's good. Here's actually, I thought this was kind of interesting. Anthony Dodge says kit bashing will always be around, but 3D printing will cut into it as time goes along. And that is kind of, that's where does 3D printing fit into all that kit bashing and stuff? Because it's like you can take the prototype, 3D scan it, and print it out, and have like almost a perfect replica, and you don't even need to kit bash anymore.
I agree. You know, 3D printing's great, but you've got to have somebody that goes and figures out the dimensions and makes the drawing, and so there's a process there. A lot of people are really into that. I have not gotten into that. That's another facet of the hobby, which again is a great thing on our hobby. Is there's so many different things you can do. But I agree. If I had somebody could build 3D printed kits for me to build all my structures, I would definitely go that way. But that'd be like the budget for the Denver for the California Zephyr. It's like I don't know what would cost me to do that.
Well, Anthony Dodge got into 3D printing, I think, fairly recently, and he says he has 13 3D printed buildings that would have cost between $25 and $75 each. So let's say $750, right? 75 times 10, let's say. But his printer cost is $400 plus 25 in filament. So you'd be at $750 for a bunch of kits that you then have to build and whatever, versus $425 for a printer and filament. So it is, I think, depending on the volume you're printing, it's yeah, I guess like like I was talking about earlier, though, a lot of us have how many kits in the closet, right? Too. So
yeah,
I have a few. Spent the money.
I have a few kits, but I turned around. I picked up one of the Anycubic resin printers just for detail parts, because looking at how many detail parts I needed for some of my kits, like this was a Patel engraving and engineering house, model 303. And it was a off yellow. So if I show you that side, that's the color the walls were. So I actually painted it yellow because that was almost the color of the house I grew up in. But all the windows were this awful color blue, almost like the Anthern blue boxes. Yep. So I'm like, nope, it needs to change and paint. But all the interior details I got for the printer, I still have to put it all back together. It keeps falling apart because I haven't glued it together yet. And I'm also building out of wood the little patio, and I even changed the back wall. So I have a patio door with a blind in the window that you can see there. So I'll actually have a little patio and a arbor in the back because I wanted this like in the corner, like a farmhouse. But yeah, all of the detail parts for some of my engines I can print on my resin printer that would cost me $10, $15 each off eBay plus shipping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just adds up. It's easier for me to either find it on STL Finder or design it myself and print it off.
Yeah, 3D printing is something I'd love to get into if I had the space. I barely have the space to put together the kits as it is.
That's why I'm still at my dining room table.
Right, exactly. And Steve Childers, I'll get your name right one of these days. Steve Childers, I believe that roundhouse behind you is somewhat kit bashed. Is that not?
Yeah, it's totally kit bashed. All right, it's 3 of the Walters roundhouse kits, but it's truncated. This over here is full length, whereas this side here only is about that much. All right, so it fits inside of this loop, but yet kind of camouflaged.
Do you do a lot of kit bashing, Steve, or is that the?
I try to, it all depends. Like I've got the Walters bakery. I forget what the name of the bakery is, but I've rearranged how Walters had it so that it emulates the Pepperidge Farm Bakery in Downers Grove. I've got their lumber kit that I really didn't kit bash as much as just disguised, as Don put it. Yeah, I've got the packing plant, done a little bit of disguise work. I've added on a couple of stockyard kits to that just to represent kind of the old Chicago stockyards down on the south side. And I've got the gravel plant that really isn't even disguised, unfortunately. I've got the refinery that's been bashed. So I do a little bit of everything. Some bash. I got a scratch built grain elevator.
I do like that term, kit disguising. It's
yeah, I like that too.
A little bit softer of an edge than kit bashing. Like bashing just sounds so
So violent.
yeah, basically. Basically, whereas kit disguising is kind of funny where I do like this idea now. Don, I think you've got to do a presentation on can you find the Walthers kit and identify it, and do a little contest and see how many people can identify the most, what were the original kits on your layout.
Yeah.
Depends on how popular the kit is. Yeah. Or how much I've bashed it.
Well, like
I've used 2 of the diesel fueling areas and bashed those. You can recognize the parts, but they're nothing. They don't look anything like the box. All right, and then I've got my harbor scene too. That's a couple different Walthers kits that have been bashed.
See, I'm still at the point where like people were asking. I did this kit and I painted all the windows and stuff blue, and I haven't had time to go back and like weather them and blend them in so they look right. But everyone's like, why are you painting those blue? And I'm like, because that's the picture on the box. They're blue on the picture on the box. And that's, I'm kind of still at that point where I'm just trying to make it look like a building that may exist.
You know why they chose that building, Heath, for the contest?
Because they had a whole bunch of them and no one was buying them? No, I don't know.
No one was buying them because of the blue windows.
That's a good one.
Just so you know.
But I do feel like that blue, if you look at some blue like wood kits, or not blue wood kits, if you look at some Craftsman kits, there is some blue stains that you can use that make the wood look like old. And I kind of feel like that what I wanted to do with those windows is make them look like those old windows that had kind of just started turning blue, like where the wood just sort of shifts that color. So I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever get back to it and be successful with that, but that's where that's at right now. Steve 87 PSAP says Rick's and Pike stuff are actually the best kits to bash. I do have some Pike stuff kits. They're the blue and white kits, and they sell them to you to be kit bashed. A lot of the walls and the windows and stuff, they show you the lines like where you could cut out a window, but they don't. It's not like Walthers where the window's like pre-cut out on everything. It's it's just the flat piece of plastic from the outside, but on the inside they have all the lines to cut it into sections and stuff. So I like it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They allow you to make a lot of cuts from the backside to modify where you put the doors and all that stuff. So that is a nice feature.
Yeah, I do. The only thing I don't like about them, and I guess where I feel like I get stuck, is I look at them and I go, "Oh, there's another blue building with a gray white roof," and it's like you can just paint them any color you want. But yet I just see that blue wall and it's like, oh, I know what that is. And some people don't bother painting them, which I think is kind of a disservice to just how good the Pike stuff kits really are.
And they're all more of a modern style of architecture. So, that office, that yard office I was building, that could have been done with a Rick's product, but I found another solution. But but most of the structures I'm building are they're brick or there's some other material that you want to model, and Rick's is good if you're building, a pole barn kind of building.
Yeah, Shane says Rick sells individual wall panels and such just for kit bashing and extending kits. Yeah. I know Pike
That's
stuff,
right. Yeah.
Pike stuff does that. DPM, I thought, used to do that too. I thought the whole point of DPM at one point was that they were modular, but all I can really find now are their like completed kits. So I don't know. Is DPN still around? Or are they just not doing the modular stuff? Or am I just not looking in the right spot?
Yeah, you just didn't look in the right spot. Yeah. They're out there.
So Trigoglin says there's a lot of engine sheds in the yards that are blue and white. So that is kind of the normal color for that type of warehouse building. Here you go. Before we go on, I do just want to shout out a couple supporters of the channel. As people know, CMR Products has been a long-time supporter of the channel. Discount code HUMAN for 15% off. Two of the items here that I'm highlighting are the desk organizers as well as the decals that they sell. Another longtime supporter of the channel is Iron Planet Hobbies, which specializes in DCC. HUMAN, the code HUMAN for 10% off. And a very new sponsor who has something in the mail, apparently something special for me. But Nick from PGH Train Fanatic, his PTF Designs Background Flats line, again, use the code HUMAN for 10% off. And I also do have individual supporters as well. You can support me on YouTube as a member. I can also be supported through Patreon if that is the method you prefer. Or I do also have a way people can do super chats and super stickers. And along those same lines, I do have kind of an exciting announcement. I have signed the paperwork for the lease for the office/studio space. So the lease is signed. I have sent in the deposit check, and hopefully by July 1st, we'll have internet and we lost Flying Crow again. What happened?
No, you didn't
What
lose
happened?
me. I'm trying to change cameras, that's all. I could
Robert.
I'm getting dizzy.
Robert. Let's see the chair, Robert. Come on.
Oh, the chair's fine. I'm still here. See?
Oh man, Robert.
I was just trying to change my camera, and it's not working real well.
I was telling everybody about my studio, and you totally upstaged me with your.
I'm sorry.
With your camera work over there.
Actually, he was just so shocked he fell off the chair.
Oh, that could be. So I'm really excited. By July 1st, hopefully I'll be moving into a studio, which means I will have a permanent space for my T-Track modules to be set up, as well as a more sort of permanent space to do some kit bashing, let's say. Should I choose to get more into that? So big things are coming. Big things are coming. So it's about 7:40. I do like to wrap up by about 8 because Tom from Tom's Trains and Things is planning on going on at 8 tonight. I did see he's got his reminder up. So Dom, let's start with you and just what's oh, excuse me, I got the hiccups now. I got so excited by Robert sort of flipping in the air, and I thought he was doing like backflips and stuff. It just like got me all excited, and now I've got the hiccups. So Don, if people want to find you, what's a good way to kind of see what you're up to? We discussed the NMRA National Convention. You're going to be doing a presentation, but outside of that, do you have a Facebook page or any of that kind of thing? That
I do. I'm so I don't do Facebook. So if you want to be my friend, don't be insulted if I refuse. But I do have a fellow Burlington modeler that talked me into developing a Facebook group focused on my railroad. And I kind of adopt the It's My Railroad thing again on my Facebook group. So the Facebook group is for, if no one else, it's for me. And I do monthly postings to talk about what I did this past month. So this is the last day of the month. So I have to start writing up what did I work on. And coming from a situation where I had to do monthly reports every month for 35 years.
Yeah.
I somehow can't get out of that. It's totally ingrained in my head that I have to do a monthly report and justify my existence. So I do that, but it's really good because then it's a documentation for me on what. Sometimes I'll refer back to my own Facebook group and check that out to see how I did a particular thing. It's more like a diary.
So
what's
the name of the group? You keep talking about it, you haven't told us the name yet. So how we?
Yeah, it's just called the Aurora Division, so it's a closed group, which means that you have to go in and ask for permission to join, and then I'll explain who you are, and then I'll let you in. And I've got about it's almost 20 people that are members of it now, so it's a fairly small group. Part of it's my family, but others who are interested, local friends and other people. But anybody around the country, anybody calling, hey, there it is. Look at that, you found it right away. So yeah, go ahead and send a request and remind me who you are and how you know me, because I try to screen strangers. So yeah, I talk about things like I'm picking out a new paint for my fascia, and I'll talk about what I've completed on track and what I've completed on structures and all that. Whatever I've done this month.
Yeah, so people can come here and definitely see more. I'm looking at all the previous updates. Ah, so you use you're a rattle can guy, not a airbrush guy.
Well, there's some other guys I hang around with. They say, yeah, I don't have, my life's too short to spend time cleaning airbrushes. But it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm building a contest AP model, then
I'll
go to the airbrush and try and get it working. I'm not a good airbrusher, just like I'm not a good modeler. But if I'm just kit bashing something, the rattle can does a pretty good job. It doesn't have the fine detail that you want in a beautiful award-winning model. But I need somewhere around 200 to 300 structures for this layout, and I can't spend time. This is an interesting project. I was looking at how to put my Caterpillar tractors on my flat cars, and magnets. Magnets is the way to go.
Okay.
Because now
I'm like, are you holding it upside down? I'm like, what are you doing?
I'm so I can come in with an empty flat car, and between operating sessions, I can go and put all my tractors on the flat cars, push them back into the Caterpillar plant, and you pull them out and send them on their way. So yeah, that's working out. So that's a fun side project.
Oh, you got the youth award?
Yes. No, I gave the youth award.
Oh, you gave the youth award. Oh, okay.
Since I'm the director of the local, that's my granddaughter. They're helping me build trees. So it was more of a project for us to do. She wasn't really that much help. Oh, don't tell her I said that.
I'm looking at this building right there, and I'm like, hey, wait, that looks just like this building right here. I'm like, it's so funny.
So I did not kit bash that building one bit. I was looking for something to go with my soder station that I kit bashed, but I just need something to fill that spot. So yeah, sometimes I follow the instructions, but again, yeah, it's my rattle cans. I try to document rather than writing it down. I'm too lazy to write it down, so I take a picture of my rattle cans of my project.
Ah, that's a good idea.
This is the area where I'm working right now. In fact, I've got a picture up on my screen. If you want to share that, that's what I've actually worked on in the last few days. Can you share my? There we go. So I'm doing the rough scenery on my Helix. I haven't gotten into any scenery yet, but I've got trying to dress up my Helix, and I just got some fascia on there, and wow, it's really incredible how a fascia changes the view, because you know, up until this point it was just a 6-layer Helix that it looks kind of like a mess. But so I kitbashed these 3 structures. I basically used every piece from those 3 kits and just flared them out, spread them out to make bigger structures. And so it hides. I've got one loop of track that kind of comes out of the Helix and makes a wider arc. And I wanted to do that so you don't lose track of your trains. But then I wasn't sure how I was going to scenic it. So I built this Helix about a year and a half ago, and I'm just getting down to figuring out what to do with it. But it's the first thing you see when you walk in the door. So I decided I'll start dressing that up. But I'm avoiding scenery because I'm still making a lot of sawdust every day, and I don't want to clean up scenery, clean all the sawdust stuff. It's hard enough cleaning off the track.
Yeah, I can imagine. So it's I hate cleaning airbrushes as well. Hate it with a passion. Can't stand it. So what I'm looking at getting is one of these. This is an ultrasonic cleaner. And supposedly, you know, I looked it up, and this is one that some people that airbrush recommended, and you can supposedly just drop the airbrush in and with some, like Windex in there, and you just turn it on and let it vibrate, and you pull it out, and it's clean. So this is definitely one of the investments that I want to make, because I hate cleaning an airbrush as well. It's just not something I enjoy at all.
Well, if you saw my collection of airbrushes and saw that I have 5 airbrushes, you might think that I'm pretty good at it. But in reality, I go to the national convention. I go to the hands-on clinic where Mr. Pache or whoever is showing you how to use his airbrush, and it actually works while I'm in the clinic. So I get excited and buy his airbrush, and then I go home and fail at it for a while, and then I go to another clinic and buy that guy's airbrush, buy the Badger airbrush.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I actually try and do with my channel that most of the people here know, but you may or may not know, is I try and keep it as real as possible. I just show all the mistakes I make when I break things, I mess things up. It's like I just show them, because to me, there's so many people out there that show you how to do it right. And then you go home and you go, oh, this should be easy. But yet, like, you just can't duplicate what they do. And I think that learning process is a huge part of it.
You know, it's like watching somebody play the piano, beautifully play it. I'll buy a piano and go home and do that.
Right. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Nope.
It's a real skill. It's a real art. And yeah, I need somebody coming over here and standing over my shoulder and saying, oh yeah, check your air pressure, or you haven't thinned the paint. I'm a bad paint thinner. So I think that's my number one thing.
I bought some pre-thinned primer because I can't. I'm terrible at it. And so the other thing that I learned, or I don't know if it's true, but I find that airbrush flow improver is better at thinning airbrush paint than airbrush thinner. I feel like with airbrush thinner, the paint dries out. With the flow improver, anyway. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, and it all depends on which paint you're actually using too.
Right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But the first time I met Robert from Flying Crow, he was actually painting a KCS locomotive in bicentennial colors, and he was doing a whole live stream like series of doing it. And I'm impressed when people go, okay, I want this to look like X, and then they take out their airbrush and paint it, and then it looks like X, because mine always looks like Y. Like it never, it never matches. So, yeah, it's always really interesting. But before we wrap up, I do want to let everybody on here. So, Don Winn, if people want to look for his channel or his Facebook group, that's the link as well. And just want to check in with, let's start with Steve. Anything coming up that people should know about in your world?
As I mentioned, I got some JMRI tips of the day coming out this week, and my May update, layout update.
Awesome.
And Don, I did send a join to your Facebook group.
There you go. Does your are you Steve Childers on Facebook, Steve?
Yes.
There you go. Makes it easier. Adam Cruz.
So we were talking about mistakes. This is actually the second iteration of this car, because when I stripped the first one, it turned it into that.
Oops.
So it kind of melted the plastic, and I leave that as my, here. You can see all of it's melted, and it's actually cracked along the windows because it got so brittle. I'm like, I never had any issues with stripping paint until I went to strip this one. So I've learned. But yeah. So this is the second iteration that actually came out really, really well. So it's actually almost done.
Very nice.
Nice.
But yeah, this week for my with the NMRA group that I'm with, our Zoom meeting on Thursday is passenger cars for our show and tell. So I'm trying to at least get one side of the California Zephyr done so I can actually show that off. I don't care about the other side. I just want one side done.
Yep. No. That's all they see at a time is one side. So
yep.
David.
Yes.
Anything exciting coming up for you that you want to share?
Nope, it's kind of quiet right now. I'm getting summer, so I'm getting ready to go camping and stuff. So,
how's the layout room going? I know you recently, I guess it was 2 months ago now, moved into a new room. How's that coming along?
It's still at the same spot where it was last time I talked. Then other projects getting Jack's project done.
So what you're saying is I should stop bringing up the new room?
No, you can bring it up. I'll just tell you whether or not I've moved progress on it.
Steve87 PSF says, nice talk, Don. Funny, I got a building in your presentation. I am now part famous. Or at least I think he's saying I am now part famous and not I am not part famous. But we'll stick. Yeah, he did say I am now part famous.
Thank you, Steve.
So, Flying Crow, I don't know if you're still there or if you're just showing us one of your
No.
weathered hoppers.
I'm here. So that's what I was doing while y'all were talking.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm not finished with it because I've got to decal it and then put some more weathering on top of the decals. But I don't know if anybody's interested. I might do a live stream on decaling.
Tonight?
I don't know about tonight, but yeah, but I'll put out an announcement when I'm.
So basically what you're saying is people need to come subscribe to your channel right now because you don't have no idea when it's going to happen, and they better be subscribed.
That's right. That's the only way you know. And hit the notification bell, right?
Speaking of that stuff, I do have an email list. If you're on the email list, you would have gotten an email today at about 5:30. I'm sending out emails right before Modeling Monday, kind of as a weekly update, as well as then a reminder for Modeling Monday. So if you want to know who the guest is and what's going on, that's a good list to join and stay up to date on what I'm up to and doing. Steve Anderson wants to know if they are going to be lick and stick decals, Robert.
I don't no.
Yeah.
No.
Speaking about kit bashing too, I just do want to mention John from 2618 just dropped in, and I'm still waiting to see I may have missed it, but he was building a Blue Comet set, basically from scratch. But I think it was kind of Kitbash-ish as well. So hopefully he's still working on that. And
Yeah, we're waiting on that and the new house still, right?
Yeah, well, the new house. He had to move the turtles, so I get the new house. Oh, so John 2618 is another person connected to the world of Peterbilt, and yeah, John, you'll have to go back and see, but the gentleman on screen that was our special guest of the day may have had something to do with that truck behind him. So, you were the mechanical engineer?
Mechanical engineer, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mechanical engineer on the truck. See, I was almost paying attention.
There you go.
Any final words from anybody? If not, I'm going to wrap this up. Let me actually see if I can find it really quickly. I'm looking for Tom's Trains and Things.
I will probably do a video on decaling as well if Robert's also going to be doing a live stream one. So I just wanted to get these done this week so I can have something show off on Thursday.
Gotcha. So I will be heading over to Tom's Trains and Things. I hope to see everybody over there, and I hope everyone had a great Memorial Day. Don, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Sharing your kit bashing and kit disguising with us. And
well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Hey,
awesome.
And Don, if you're ever up in East Texas, you can come visit, please.
Okay, very good. Will do.
Crow has a nice shed that he's working on, disconnected from his house. So if there is a fire, the shed will survive, as you said earlier.
I don't know. I wired the shed, so maybe the fire will be in the shed.
Well, hopefully it'll go the way we want it to. But yeah, Tom's live in 3 minutes and 18 seconds. So I will see everybody over there in a little bit. Have a great weekend, and thanks so much for being here.
Yep. Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Night, everyone.
Good night.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about